Market observations for Geelong in Victoria. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking a comprehensive analysis of Geelong, the city, the local government area, diving into the individual suburbs, which may be worthy of our attention. And then when we identify potentially a suburb that is worthy of our attention, which individual streets should we be focusing our attention on? So if you are at all interested in Geelong as an investment location or the methodology that we use to do this type of analysis, then this is applicable to other locations across the country. Dive right in now. So, as you might be aware, if you've seen any of these videos on our YouTube channel so far or across our other network, you understand that we firstly consider the overall market opportunity. This is a longer term analysis, 3 to 5 years. We have our own core algorithm that does this type of analysis. It is not enough to have one simplified score or rating or assessment. Okay, it's not enough to use publicly accessible data to do that. We need to have an overall assessment of the opportunity, the where. This is a 3 to 5 year measure. And then when we find an opportunity worthy of our attention across this great land of Australia, that's when we dive in to determine, is it in its optimum buying window? Okay, is it the right time to be purchasing there in the longer term cycle? So overall, it is a science. We need to take this methodology. Firstly, I'm going to be looking at unemployment rate. Then I'm going to be jumping over into Picki, picki.com.au. It is one of our network of businesses under the overall umbrella of Ripehouse and what we do as an organisation. So it is the same backbone, the same data, the same due diligence, the same acquisitions, the same research, all powering across the different websites. I will move. Unemployment rate. It has been trending upwards for some years. You know, it is now somewhat above the national average, but it has trended downwards in recent time in terms of the unemployed rate. The number of employment, the unemployment rate is now under 5%. Okay, so it has trended down in recent time, and it is at a very healthy, almost full employment position. So love what we're seeing there. I'll just jump over to Picki now, and we'll start doing some of our more detailed analysis at the local government area level, the City of Geelong level. So you can dive here into the research hub over in Picki. Let's just type in Geelong and search for that. Remember, we are searching for the local government area, the LGA at this point. Let's load this up. All right, overall, the first assessment is telling us that the quantum of the overall opportunity, the algorithm-based assessment of this location, the where, the 3 to 5 year artificial intelligence model is telling us that this area is in the top 86% of all areas in the country. So there's only around 1 in 10, 1 in 15 LGAs, 1 in 8, 1 in 10 local government areas are better than this. This is, ticking a lot of boxes. It's punching above its weight. So overall, the opportunity, 3 to 5 year, mid to long term model is very good, right up there with the best in the nation. Only average employment diversity, so low unemployment, average employment diversity, but the number one employer is health and social services. So I'm happy with that. That's great. High income growth, especially for a satellite city of a major, this is excellent. So very high income growth and great commute time. Employment is excellent. Employment health is excellent. Let's have a look at the lifestyle. Not going to have any issues here. Great lifestyle factors on the water. Great, amenities, local amenities. You've got the train line into the Melbourne. You've got all the major amenities that you would expect. Let's go into new projects in the area. Now, this is looking at the future construction of new projects. Okay, let's dive into the new projects associated with the City of Geelong. Now, we can go through the individual elements here, but for me, the spend per capita number is the most important. This is the total quantum, the total value of the future projects in the construction and approval pipeline. Looking at the total value of those projects divided by the number of people in the local government area, the spend per capita is high in this area, 4 out of 5 stars. For a regional centre, this is outstanding. This is very good. You've got retail, hospitality, prison project, rural mining, industrial, a broad mix of new construction and then therefore ongoing employment. So big tick there as well for new projects. Population growth statistics. we need to then look at population versus supply. We are in a balanced market. We then also need to look at projected population growth in the next 3 years is excellent, for very high. So very bullish looking at things from a population perspective as well. All the way across the board, it's been very positive so far. Now let's look at new construction, because we might have all these people wanting to move to the area. We might have all these lifestyle factors, lots of new jobs, construction, excellent employment, but this could be all out the window if there is a lot of new homes being built. Remember, what causes price pressure at this longer term, or at any perspective really, is demand outstripping supply. Even with outstanding demand, if supply is still, counteracting that demand, or at least meeting it, and even outsupply or oversupply is occurring, we might not even have any capital growth. So let's dive in here to the new construction in the pipeline for this location. Okay, so diving here into the new construction, and as expected, 7.8% new homes in the construction pipeline. So even with all of these wonderful things that are occurring, great population growth for this type of regional satellite, we are outstripped by supply potentially coming into the pipeline. Some areas are much better than others. Some areas have much lower supply in the pipeline. So let's zoom in here to sort of get our bearings. We can see around the higher density, inner Geelong areas, we generally have lower new supply in the pipeline. Some of these south areas, Charlemont, Mount Dunedin, Armstrong Creek, we're going up to 30% new homes in the construction pipeline. The suburbs are changing very dramatically, very quickly. Even some of these new, construction areas like Finsford, very familiar names for me. Not to say I'll get my pronunciation right with them, even up into Lara, closer to Melbourne, we're seeing, 10, 15, up to 18% new homes in the construction pipeline. Big red flags. But we have some minefields to be aware of in inner city Geelong. Around the Geelong CBD, 6.7% new housing supply, way above what we would need and require to generate strong demand-supply ratios. North Geelong, Norlane, Corio, North Shore, these are all sort of working class, mid to low socio, investment grade pockets with low new home supply. So I'd probably be starting to focus my attention in and around here. We want to see the yields nice and strong for this type of location. So we've gone through the main macro type of analysis for this area, guys. We've got 4 big ticks and 1 big cross, but when we dive into the individual suburb pockets, we can, mitigate or dilute our risk here by picking those suburbs carefully. I am liking this cluster of 4 suburbs, but anywhere here through Newtown, Mid-Market, Geelong, Manifold Heights, into Belmont, South Geelong, East Geelong, this Newcomb, Whittleton, East Geelong pocket, all looking low supply as well. So we have to be very careful of that. I've just run off quite a few suburbs, but we do need to check all of those. You can come into Picky to get that information whenever you need. Look, the one area that's really typically we have been drawn to for Geelong for some time is Norlane. There are 56 suburbs listed here in the Greater Geelong area. They are ranked top to bottom in terms of strongest to weakest potential performance, or in, strongest in the buying window. They're not at the consolidation or the peak or the trough phases. The higher up this list, potentially the better or more strongly we are in the buying window right now. Quite high up the risk is Norlane. I have cross-referenced that with low new home construction in the pipeline, or low in terms of Geelong overall. Let's use that as our next suburb to dive into. We could make arguments for quite a few others here, though, on this list. I like Norlane because whilst the yield is still low nationwide, it is one of the higher yielding suburbs across Geelong, 3.3% yield, while many of its other neighbours are stunning with a 2 in terms of the overall yield. So let's go in there and have a look now at Norlane. All right, so that's now loaded up. We are firmly in the buying window for Norlane, as you would expect with a suburb right up at the top of that list, that top of that pile. Recent growth has been flat. Okay, this is looking at houses as median value. So we are coming through from potentially a consolidation phase. I like to see at least 2/3 owner-occupiers in this type of suburb cluster. We don't have that in Norlane. Can we find individual suburbs that have the required amount of owner-occupiers? Yes. there is a nice cluster in Western Norlane of many different street areas. You can see these darker pink areas here that have the required, roughly 2/3 owner-occupiers. This means that we have nice owner-occupier appeal. That's generally associated with people taking care of properties, improving them, gentrifying, and then above average capital growth. So even though at a suburb level we have very low owner-occupier level, probably too low for me to be comfortable, I might be then looking at North Geelong, that's still too low, up into Newtown, Belmont, mid to upper socio areas, just to get those owner-occupier mixes right. Even into East Geelong, down over into these pockets, remember they had low supply in the pipeline. So maybe we might be off the mark a little bit here in Norlane, but let's see if we can make it work. We need to look at the vendor discounting. Okay, so properties are selling for more than the asking price. It still seems like there is some momentum here in this market. Once again, yields are quite low at a suburb level nationwide, 3.6%, lower than I would probably be preferring. As an investor, especially with interest rates as the way they are, I prefer yields starting with at least a 5, maybe a 6. Let's have a look if there are any street pockets with higher yield. And we are now seeing some nice overlap. We don't usually see this. So we've tracked pockets here with higher owner-occupier levels, about as low as we would find acceptable. These three clusters here at around that 60%. And then when you come in here to yield per street level, they are some of the higher yielding street pockets in the suburb overall. This is a very bullish signal for me to find. Are the rental prices above average? Yes, they are. Once again, a very bullish signal. They have lots of the in-demand property type. So not this one here, but these three have lots of houses, which is what we require in Norlane. It's the most common and in-demand property type. And we are away from the public housing. We've got no public housing essentially in this cluster, but we've got some big red flags across large parts of Norlane. So when you're buying in these street areas, we are trying to isolate ourselves from the public housing. But these guys all might be walking through here. These guys might be walking through here. We need to look at that street level dynamic to just put a common sense logic-based check. Are these streets going to be influenced by the public housing that's all around it? So this might be too much of a minefield to navigate. I might just draw my attention back in here to somewhere like Newtown. So Newtown, higher socio. Okay, higher prices. It is in a consolidation period when you look at the suburb overall. Okay, it has had negative recent growth. You've got reasonable, very good owner-occupier levels, definitely acceptable. You have, still properties selling for more than asking price, but when you look at the recent growth, potentially the sales agents have lost a little bit of confidence in the market. The yield overall is 2.4%. Which is too low, but vacancy rates are extremely low. So there might be some buoyancy in the rental side of the equation. Let me just drop down here to see if there are any street pockets that are high owner-occupier percentages. Okay, then let's flip over to high yielding street locations. So there are some street locations that have, above average, quite high yields at a street level. 3.5 to 4.6 in this street pocket. When we see these street pockets, this is a 90-day rolling number, guys, for houses only, 7.6% yield at that street level. It's probably coming down. The data is the data, but it's probably coming down to sample size, right? We might have had just a sample of properties that might have been 4 bedrooms renting, and then we had a lot of 3 bedrooms selling, and that, when joined together, the yield for houses overall for that 3-month period may have been skewed slightly. So when we zoom in there at a street level, sometimes you have that volatility in the numbers. When we zoom out, we have less resilience or reliance on individual properties, but we have more stable variables, or when we're looking at those assessments. So look, overall, there are potentially some street pockets where we could make the yield work, be an acceptable level for us as an investors in Newtown. Public housing, there is a pocket of 9.2%, not generally going to be an issue. We do need to come in and check with these types of suburbs, the surrounding suburbs, just on the edge of these target suburbs. What is happening in the suburbs next door around public housing? We do need to do those checks as well. So look, hopefully overall, let's go back into the suburb, the actual market dynamic in Geelong. We'll go back to the slides, guys. Days on market, very tight, slightly uptrending. Immediate sales, very low. It looks like heat has dissipated from this local government area. Stock inventory has dropped a lot in August. Okay, is this a tightening in the market or just, an unpopular product? The days of supply is popping up. So even with less stock available, the days of supply is increasing. So it is showing to us that the steam has really left this market in the last month or two. The asking price has definitely plateaued. And the vendor discounting is coming back down towards zero. All right, especially for houses, we've come from 7% a year ago down to 3% today. So we've had a lot of steam in exiting this market. Sold prices right at the moment have just hit a plateau. They may be coming back down or at least consolidating. So we're definitely seeing evidence across the board here in Geelong that the steam has left the market. And we are seeing that on the ground with certain suburbs when we're doing the analysis over in Picky as well. Is the rental market bringing in hope to the equation? We're in a low yielding environment. Is it showing that there potentially is hope for rents to start pushing away again and then prices to catch up in the next year or two? And we're seeing the days of rental supply dramatically decrease. So just in the last month or so, we've seen not many listings hitting the market, and the days of supply of the rental market has just gone through the floor. So a dramatic tightening in the rental market. It hasn't started catching up with vacancy rates. So it's saying there are just less properties available for rent and there are less people looking right as of now because vacancy rates are just continuing up their slight upwards trajectory. Asking rents have plateaued. Yields have once again plateaued. So I'm not seeing any major signs from the rental side of the market that are looking like this might be a short-term consolidation. We're definitely entered into a market consolidation or downturn period. Individual suburbs may be worthy of our attention. Longer term, excellent. Longer term, very strong for Geelong. I'm just going to wait a little while for our optimum buying window into this location. If you like this content, if you find it useful, it would mean a lot to us if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you are the first to be notified of any future videos, case studies, private research, current affairs, any of this type of deep dive information. Please share the video, please like the video, and I'm on standby to answer any of your comments below. Thank you.